Welcome back, everybody. I know it's been such a long time since I did a video, but due to popular demand, people have been wanting to see videos, so I'm going to do one for you today. So lately I just went with Nicholas to the Juneau Trails out in Juneau Beach down here in South Florida, and we took the opportunity, to snap some pictures. And I painted one already. I did it in oils, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to do another one in acrylics because I'll be able to, paint quickly and be able to demonstrate layer upon layer pretty quickly. So let me start by showing you my colors that I have laid out on my palette. We have Cad Yellow Medium, we have Indian Yellow, Yellow Ochre, Alizarin Crimson, Cerulean Blue, Ultramarine, Burnt Umber, and White, of course. So I may not use all these colors. The reason why I use Indian Yellow and the Ultramarine Blue, they will give me a nice dark green, including with the Burnt Umber. And I could do the same thing using, Alizarin Crimson, but I'm going to mix and match a little bit some of the darks, and you will see these are my semi-transparents: the Ultramarine Blue, Alizarin Crimson, Indian Yellow, all semi-transparent colors, opaque, semi-opaque. Okay, so they will start my darks off. I don't know if you can see. Well, maybe I'll be able to see it. This is what I'm painting today. Sorry for the glare, I'm trying to do this. Alright, this was the Juneau Park, the Juneau Natural Trail, but now I cropped the picture a little bit to condense a little bit more to make it to my liking. I may or may not add a few things, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, I'm not promising a total finished painting here. I may eventually edit the painting at some point, but otherwise we'll see. So let me get started with this. Alright, so now I'm going to use it's a bristle, a number 6 bristle brush to start my darks off. So I'm going to start with Ultramarine Blue, a little bit of Indian Yellow, Burnt Umber, and I'm going to switch the colors around a bit as we go. Let me add a little bit of Alizarin Crimson to this. I did the mixture a little bit too wet. Shouldn't have done that. It's okay. Nothing we can't fix at some point. As you can see how dark the mixture is on my palette here against the white. Add a little bit more yellow. How did this go? Yes. And Burnt Umber and Alizarin Crimson and Yellow. This will be like a red pile of, I don't know if you've seen, I don't know what it's called, but sometimes up on these natural trails you'll see like these rusty colored plant overhangs. To tell you the truth, I don't really know the name of that plant. Excuse my voice a little bit. But some of you have seen it. So let me see. Start off with that. Try to lay in the values of what I see so far leading into this trail. All right. I am using an 8x10 canvas. All right, so you can see the approximate darks here that I'm using. And for the sandy part, I'm going to be mixing maybe some ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and burnt umber to tone down the purple a little bit, and a lot of white to just give the foundation, actually not burnt umber, but yellow ochre, give it this garish kind of look for the sand. And a little bit of white. Let me see, because this is going to be more, the sun's hitting, it was at probably at this angle at the time of the day that I took it. It was like 5-6 o'clock in the afternoon, so it was still kind of high at an angle, so not really low to where the shadow would extend further out. It was more at a 45-degree angle, I'd say. Let me test out this color. Let me go a little bit of blue on this, a little bit too. And you'll see why I'm doing this eventually. There's always a reason for everything, right? A little bit orangey. Now the whites, the reason why I do it this dark, I know the sand is white, but if I started with this light already, you would not be able to see the details of the sand that well. So I start off with the darker color. What are you painting? Oh, hi Diane. This is a photo of the Juneau Park. It's a nature trail that's near my home and down here in South Florida. Had the opportunity to go with my son just to have like an evening session, take some photos, and so I painted one trail already on. You'll see it in my post. Now I'm doing one in acrylics. The first one I did was in oil, and it's just for a quick demo. So you can see, because if I did this in oils, it would not dry fast enough for me to lay layers upon layers on here. So I'm just doing this for the sake of speed, and so I could, show you my techniques, how I go about a painting. So, all right, that's that for the darks. Not too happy about this part here. Oh, never mind. It's almost dry. See, the beauty of acrylics. This was oil, it'd be all wet still, and I'd have a hard time. I would probably have to use a palette knife like this to. Alright, now I'm going to work onto the sky. Oh, and by the way, new tip. I used to use long flats like these. Okay, this is a number 8 flat. Now I've noticed that when I lay out paint with these long flats, these are great for flow acrylics, meaning the more liquid acrylics. Okay, like if you bought golden flow acrylics, this brush would be perfect. I found for the heavier body it stuck a little bit. Now I've turned on, and I realized when I was painting one day, I used I had a number 10 bright, and I was wondering, why is it that with this brush I'm able to lay on the acrylics that well? And then I realized what it was. It was because I was using a bright. That was the difference. Instead of a flat, I was using a bright, which is a shorter, you notice, shorter hair. So I'm able to move the paint a lot easier. And this company, it's silver. It's called Silver by Bristlon. I found it at Jerry's Artorama. I mean, world of difference. I may have to change out all these brushes that I bought. Luckily I didn't pay that much for them, but just a little tip, works great. So now we're going to move on to the sky. Let me get my reference photo back up. Alright, so for the sky, what we're going to do, so I'm trying to answer some of your questions at the same time here. All right. Now I did my layout. These were a set of trees in the background and so here, but I'm gonna leave those out for the moment. Normally I would, put my darks in already and start this off, but I have a feeling that I might have to wait for that a little bit and then just work with the sky. So now the sky is going to be ultramarine blue, lots of white, a little bit of yellow ochre and burnt umber, because I'm going to tone down that blue a little bit. Lots of white. Oof, I put a little bit too much ultramarine blue. It's going to gray down the sky a little bit. And I may have to do 2 coats. You can see the original. That was a little bit too dark for me. This is about right. And I used a mixture, a little bit of burnt umber and yellow ochre with the ultramarine. Give it that nice grayish sky. And if I don't like the color, it's acrylic, I could still go back over it real fast. So let's start. Man, this brush can really move the paint, I can tell you that. And the reason why I didn't tone this canvas is because some of the light colors in the sky, especially the whites, the white part of the sky, I want it to be nice and white. Well, they're not actually white, it's going to be warm. So if anything, I'm going to throw yellow ochre and maybe just a little bit of blue and a lot of white in order to make some of the lighter part of the sky. And I may eventually even dip into my cerulean blue. So let's start with the base of the horizon. All right. Yeah, that'll work. Now remember, acrylics go through some certain phase. You got your ugly phase, and then you got your one as you get towards the end, it gets a little bit better, because then you're able to make adjustments to the painting as you go along. Well, picking up nasty stuff. Alright, more of this. I should have used my darks all the way up here. I made a little mistake, but I guess I'm going to have to deal with that. There was supposed to be another set of trees that came along this line here, but given that's acrylics, I can catch up eventually. So this is just a rough start. Sounds like I'm really working that brush, aren't I? A little bit of cerulean blue towards the base here. Blend it in a little bit. All right. Me happy. Okay. Moving on. All right. So now I am going to define the, let me see. Pretty much dry. Now I'm going to define the sky a little bit more here. Hello, thank you all for joining. Sorry, I know it was kind of short notice, but like I said, once you get a bug, you want to start painting, you start painting, it's like, sorry folks, if I can tell you earlier. All right, so that's pretty much dry. I'm going to put more darks over this and actually work even more darks on top here where I forgot to do it. And then we're going to put a second layer of colors and really start doing what I was supposed to do. All right, so now you can see this is the first fade. Choppy, nothing is defined. All I need to know is where are my darks and fill in the canvas, get all that white out. All right, now I could have done it with the toned canvas. I could have started all that out and get all my darks, done the same thing, but I wanted really my whites to be white and give the clouds a little bit more pop to them. Okay, and you will see as we go along. So, all right, now we're ready for this. Let me add more darks. All right, so back to my ultramarine blue, burnt umber. Let's go alizarin crimson and Indian yellow. Back to the same mixture I had earlier, approximately. I don't know if you guys can see this, but anyway, here we go. And this time I'm not really going to add that much water to this because I don't want it that liquidy. All right, let me get my reference back up. All right, so see, when you go back over it, I'm going to be quick, choppy strokes. I'm not too concerned about what it's supposed to look like right away. I'm actually introducing a little bit of cerulean blue to this mix as well to give it a little bit of to gray it down a little bit. So now I'm making the mixture just a little bit greener. Let me go even with cerulean blue a little bit, and I'm still using, to make these darks, I'm still using the Indian yellow. I'm not yet going to the cad yellow. That will be more for the highlights as we get to that. So right now, just plopping down. The colors that I need. Add a little bit of red on this area. And I will try to answer your questions at the same time. Just bear with me because I'm trying to concentrate at the same time with this with this painting, and plus my voice, I don't know why lately has been kind of hoarse. Hopefully I'm not getting sick. My little daughter is sick, so hopefully I'm not catching on. So, hello from Halifax. All right. Now to add the trees. I'm going to add this skyline over here. This is what I just added right here. This will eventually come up. I'll see what I'm going to do about that. But I'm going to add this line of trees and maybe add this one, then start working the sky again. All right. So. Ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and a little bit of alizarin crimson. So let me see, it's going to be about, let me draw this in a little bit. Now remember the picture is being condensed a little bit because I'm using an 8x10. So it's kind of hard to put all the information that you got out in the field on the canvas. So I'm trying really hard here. again, ugly phase. And eventually I could put in the sky holes with this. And you'll see what I mean by that. All right, so that should, you know what? No, actually it doesn't work completely. I need to add more to this. I'm going to push this over a little bit more. Okay. All right. Now, let me see, work on this. A little bit. This little rust mound here. Oof, too much white. It's okay. Alizarin crimson. Burnt umber. And acrylic, nothing that can't be fixed. All right. Let's go. Now let's work on the sky. I'm trying to take some questions here. There's an eye in the sky, yeah. All right. So, all right. Where are we going to go from this? I'm going to continue on with the same sky color. Maybe add a little bit of alizarin crimson to this mix, which was ultramarine blue, white. I'm going to use a little bit of yellow ochre and blue to this. Not too dark, too gray. Add a little bit more ultramarine blue here. So, because that mixture I just did was a little bit too gray, you need to add more blue to this. There you go. Maybe a dab of alizarin crimson. Just going over what I did earlier. Take the opportunity to put some sky holes in here while I'm at it. I'm just using the edge of my brush to poke some of these holes in here. I don't know where I'm getting all this. These little all right. Add a bit of more yellow ochre. see what I'm going to do about this. Now I'm just using straight yellow ochre and a lot of white to give this guy some color. I'm not really shooting for anything in particular. It looks a little bit different from the picture that I took, the sky does, and that is fine by me. I'm not beholden to what I did, you know, the picture that I took. Just because you took it outside, it doesn't mean you have to be a slave to it. So, there's another cloud system like right here. And basically what I'm doing here is almost like it's just scumbling it in. Scumbling is when you take paint, no water on it, and just pretty much dry, and I'm just taking the edge of my brush and just, you know, feathering things in there. I'm going to put another cloud in here. For more color, more white. And if there's something I don't like, I could always change it. Put a few sky holes in here as well. Because yellow ochre is such an opaque color, it covers very well. So, give it a sense, give this cloud system a sense of direction. Now remember, when I paint, I ad-lib a lot of things, so to make it to my liking. And you know, to that yellow ochre, I'm going to add some cerulean blue to this. And you'll see why in 1 second. Too light. A little bit better. Okay, because of this color here, I'm going to give it some more feathering, just make it look, and I'm going to do the same thing here to this side. Give some atmosphere down the horizon. Scumbling, that's all I'm doing. Scumbling layer above, on top of layers. Start adding some sky holes to this too as well. Okay. All right, we could work with that. Now let's start adding some colors to this. I'm going to start, this is where I'm going to start taking my fan brush initially to make some of the tree line. So I have a little synthetic fan brush, okay? So we're going to start working some of the mid-tone greens. So here I'm going to try this out first. Ultramarine blue and cad yellow medium. Okay, let me show you the colors here. Some of this, a little bit of cad yellow medium with my ultramarine blue. Okay, so it makes it a little bit cooler. And start using every corner of my brush, just kind of mid, like semicircle. There you go. And I didn't really use any, well, I'm going to use it now actually. I was going to say I didn't use any water. This is basically a dry scumbling, and I'm just not concerned about where it goes. Just get it on there, because all it does is just add another dimension to this, add more color. So there's another bush right here. This we're going to feather out back a little bit more. Let me see some. Now I'm using ultramarine blue, a little bit of white, burnt umber, and the cad yellow medium just to make that back bush seem further by making it a little bit more bluish. Just scumbling in again. And I eventually may add some highlights that are going to be kind of garish. Now let's work on a tree a little bit. I can see some ultramarine blue, and since it's a little bit further away, let me try this color. The tree was like right behind, and I don't want it too dark. I'm using cerulean blue. Sorry, I'm having a hard time talking at the same time. Cerulean blue, a little bit of alizarin crimson, burnt umber, and yellow ochre to give it that distinct kind of greenish, garish color. I'm using the corners of my fan brush, and I'm doing in a kind of this circular, kind of this circular motion is what I'm doing. Okay, I'm kind of doing it quick. Even if it goes over the tree a little bit, I'm not too worried about it. Okay. Mother Nature said I could do what I want with this. My wife's laughing at me. I'm becoming poetic justice over here. A little bit of green. I'm introducing a little bit of cad yellow medium in this as well. Maybe a little bit more ultramarine blue. Some darker spots. Darker greens. There you go. And then there's some darker green on this tree. All right, let me take a closer look. Now there is a palm tree, a sable palm over here on this side. I am debating whether I want to add that in there or not. Let me see. Let me work on this a little bit more. There's another branch I'm going to actually add here. You know what, let me do that now. Like I told you folks, I ad-lib a lot as I see fit. I got artistic licensing that says go for it. So I'm going to go for it. There you go. This lonely outward tree that's right here. I'm going to give this baby a life. Okay. All right. Actually, you know what? I might even add that palm tree. This would be a good example. You know, I did not add the palm tree in here, so this will be a good time to show you how I will add eventually a palm tree. When you decide to add something and everything is just dark, not a problem. Another little problem solving issue here. And I know there's another tree in the back over here, which we're going to make a... I use that same mixture of alizarin crimson, cerulean blue, yellow ochre, and actually just a little bit of cad yellow, and alizarin crimson, and some white. Make it this garish green, because it's going to be in this little tree I'm going to make over here. And if it's not dark enough, I could make it dark enough. I could make it a little bit darker afterward. You know what? Let me put a little bit of ultramarine blue. There you go. It just says it's a tree in the back over there. Let me add some of that color to the top here. There you go. Give it that sense of airy feeling and distance. You too, right here. Don't leave this one out. There you go. Okay. Let's start adding some mid-tone yellows here. No. I'm going to add the branches afterwards that are going to come down here. So I'm not too worried about that right now. So now we're going to start working with the cad yellow mediums. Make sure you keep your acrylics wet. A little spritzer bottle here. Alright. Go some cerulean blue. Maybe mix a little bit of ultramarine blue as well. Start scumbling in some of the greens that are going to be on here. So let me see. So I'm looking at my reference photos as I'm doing this as well. Maybe a little bit too green. Let's add. I'm going to tone down that green a little bit by adding a little bit of alizarin crimson, which you all know. Alright, this is too light. Let me add some ultramarine blue. If you want to tone down your greens, just add a little bit of red. Red is complementary to green. All right. Let's stumble some of the colors here. Just a general shape of this bush. Some parts will be bluer, you know. Some parts will be bluer than others. I'm leaving some of these darks in here too. Not everything needs to be one unified color. I'm introducing a little bit of alizarin crimson to this mid-tone as well. Add a little bit of white. Remember, this is just impressions of what you see. You don't have to be exact. Just describing foliage back here. There's a variety back there. Let me introduce some yellow ochre, alizarin crimson with a little bit cerulean blue. You know what, let me go a little bit more yellow ochre. I want to make it like really grayish grayish orange. Let's see if that's too much. No, that's fine. All I'm doing really is using this is a filbert, and I'm using just the edges. Let me flatten it out for you. I'm using the edges and just scumbling in the colors, and eventually I will define the picture a little bit more. So right now it's just to give you a notion. That's all I'm doing. I don't want to give you the whole story. Part of painting is to let the viewer make up their own mind about what they see and how they feel about the picture. If I really wanted an exact picture, easy. I'll just snap a photo of it, upload it for you, and basta, call it a day. That's not what it's about. You just want to give the viewer a sense of what you saw and let their minds finish the story. You don't want to give all the information right away. Just leave a little bit out. Let them work for it a little bit. 1 second, folks. Battery's running low. Whoa, don't die. Sorry, battery was running low on my reference photo. Okay, so let's start adding. You know what? I want to add a little bit more. I'm using my round brush here. This is a number 1. Some more of this mixture. I'm just put some sky holes here and there a little bit more. So what it was alizarin crimson, a little bit of yellow ochre, and white. When you do these paintings, you gotta try and remember the colors you used initially. Okay. Soften some of these hard edges. Same here. I could do this all day. All right. This part, I'm not too worried because the palm tree is going to be right here, so I'm not too. Ooh, you know what? I forgot my liner brush. All right. Well, I lost my liner brush. All right, I'm going to use, this is a 2.0 synthetic white hairbrush. I'm going to try to make the lines as fine as I can. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mix some ultramarine blue, burnt umber, a little bit of yellow ochre, just a little bit, so as to not make this too dark, not too contrasting. I guess you don't always need a liner brush. Work on some of those fine branches that were there. You know what, some are here too. Even though some of these parts are going to be hidden, I still want to give the viewer more texture to what they see, aside from big shapes. Let me make some more. So like I said, ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and a little bit of yellow ochre to bring that color down. Go back over it a little bit more. There you go. So get some of these branches go way high. Just playing around, adding more texture. That same color I'm using just to give more texture to the tree. Make it look a little bit more realistic for you. Okay. Let me take time to read some of your questions here. Yes, it is an acrylic. Missing the wild noises. Well, my honeyboo here is having some coffee. That's why it's quiet. And the little one is asleep. Poor thing, she's sick. They're saying hi, honey. They're missing your noise.
Bonjour.
Ah. All right. Well, that was from Sophie. All right. Let's work on some of this detail here. I'm going to give it a little bit of highlights. Some of these parts of the trees. And all I'm doing is little C strokes. That's all. And I'm going to vary how much yellow or how much blue and what kind of blue. I may dip into my cerulean blue, my ultramarine blue. Sometimes I use a fan brush to expedite this, but in this situation, not so sure I really want to do that. Let's see. I'm actually introducing a little bit of alizarin crimson to that same mix I just told you about. Make it like a grayish green. It's too. And I don't have to put little leaves everywhere, just a hint, an indication of some. To make it, as long as I can make your brain think, oh well, this is sunlight hitting some of the leaves. That's all I'm trying to do. And try to give the bush some definition. Notice I didn't go everywhere, but yeah, it still give you a sense of the general shape of this bush. Alright, I'm doing another mixture of green here, which is more grayish, cerulean blue, alizarin crimson, Indian yellow. Let's work a little bit on those back bushes here too. They've got a life. But I don't want to give too much definition back there because I don't want too much of my focus being back and those back bushes. These are going to be a higher contrast towards here. Lower contrast as we go backwards. Lower, more of a blurry and less importance is going to be given. Unless that's where I want your eyes to focus, then I would make this part more sharp, I guess, if I just put it that way. But it's not where I want your main focus to be. It's going to be more like around here, and I'll eventually take you around the path once we start with the white over here, and you'll see why I did that. Show some sunlight back here. Hint of education. So let me go a little bit more yellow here. And a little bit of white. To show there's sunlight behind this tree. Actually, let me add more yellow and white. There. Alright, I'm not going to try and get too lost with the details here, but I know that's what it looks like I'm doing. So I'm going to get away from that in a second. When you feel like your brush is sticking, just go back and add some water to your brush. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, here's the fun part. I'll work on this in a few minutes. We're going to work on that palm tree, like I said. Let me find a brush that's very suited. Okay, you know, I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this filbert here in order to do that. Okay. Let's see, where do I want it? Well, it comes out about right here. I guess I can do. All right. Ultramarine blue, Indian yellow, alizarin crimson. Let me see. I know you can't see it yet, but you eventually will once I start giving the definition of this tree. All right, let's actually start giving some definition to it. I'm going to use the edge of this brush, let me see, to define some of the edges. Watch. We're going to start like this. The paint is sticking a little bit. Just lost my reference photo, but oh well. Now these are all just mid-tone colors. The highlights are coming. See, it was nice that I left the back a little bit darker, so you'll be able to see this palm a little bit more. Okay, start working on the highlights. I'm going to start that a little bit early. I'm back with that 2.0 synthetic white brush that I had, and really this is a cheap brush. This is an artist loft. It's a brand's by Michaels. It's like you get a whole pack of for next to nothing, $7 I think it was, with 50% off discounts. I'm putting actually a little bit more Indian yellow since this is an afternoon. Alizarin crimson. This was an afternoon sun, so I'm going to give it a little bit more orange. And remember, when the paint stops flowing, add more water to your brush. Define the outer edges of this tree. Quick strokes. I'm barely touching the canvas. Let me introduce some cerulean blue to this with some Indian yellow to make it like this cool green here. There. I could probably even add a little bit more highlights. Let me do that. Just adding more white to the mixture. Let me add some yellow ochre, alizarin crimson, just to vary a little bit the colors of the palm fronds. Some of the dead leaves are towards the bottom. Let me pull up my reference photo again. Because I was kind of doing ad lib on this one a little bit. This is the tedious part about some of these paintings. It's just some of the labor, and you could get sucked in like I just did, just showing you with doing details. I shouldn't really be doing this, but here I am. I don't know why I felt the need to do details. I guess I must like this part, huh? Anyway, here a little bit of there. So you notice I just did one big ball of shape, and this just to describe a little bit, and that's it. And then start working on. There you go. I didn't spend too much time on that baby. All right, now let's work on this. And the reason why I haven't started with the bottom yet, and you will see, is because I'm gonna define these bushes, whatever, I guess, a little bit, because now a lot of thick white's gonna go into here, and then some of the blues from the shadows are gonna go in at the same time. So, oh, you know what I just noticed? I'll show you. Somebody didn't get any love. This one. It's like saying, am I going to get any kind of branches whatsoever? I mean, or am I just going to stand here alone by myself? Oh, poor lonely tree. Bob Ross would have never done that to you. Just a happy little tree. There you go. Okay. Woo! Let me start with this part right here. Alizarin crimson. Indian yellow, burnt umber, a little bit of white, a little bit more white, just to define this a little bit. There's a little bush right here. Let's give this a deep orange. Some highlights. I hope you guys can see this. If you can't, well, you'll eventually see it in the painting when I post it up. All right. Just get into the nitty-gritty stuff here. These are like some kind of branches. Remember with acrylics, if you find a color that you want, go one step lighter because it will darken on you. Alright. Now everybody wants to see the white part go on. Let's find a brush suitable. Okay. Let me get my reference photo back up. Alright. Here we go. Let me add on some more white. A little bit of ultramarine blue, white, alizarin crimson. This is going to be a little bit of a cool shadow on that aspect. Even, you know what, I actually see a little bit of cerulean blue in this. There's going to be some scumbling in this. And you will see why. All right, so let's go. Lots of white, a little bit of yellow ochre. So basically what had happened, I just set the foundation so that you'll be able to see this yellow ochre by putting that purple down. Now remember, I use purple and yellow ochre. I use the yellow ochre on top of the purple because they're complementary colors. Purple and yellow are opposites of each other. So this is like a yellow ochre is like an orangey, you know, more in a reddish orange yellow, and it's a complement of purple. That's why I did it. And plus now working off the cool blues, you'll see the effect that you will get. I'm going to vary the amount of yellow and white as I'm going through this. You'll see. The reason I'm going, there was a little bit of a slope, and I'm going to show you that slope in a minute when I work this out. Everything in due time. Sorry if I haven't been answering questions, but I will eventually try to answer them when I'm finished with this painting, and just leave me. So now I'm just going to try and bring your eyes around to this painting. Let me see. All right. See the blues and the reds and purples and the yellow, they're all working together. Okay. I'm gonna have to define the back a little bit. So, let me see. I'm going to define these shadow areas a little bit more. That's too light. Scumbling again. Hints of blues here and there. But the light is really hitting like this, so this path is going to have a little bit more color to it. So let me see if I can do this without, because the slope goes away. I'm going to lead you in. I'm going to lead you into this path here. It's okay if I go over some of this brush that I did. See some of this yellow ochre now? Defining. Now, had I laid out the blues straight horizontal like this, that would have just told the viewer where the land is just flat. Instead, what I did, I angled off the shadow. So it just tells you there's a little bit of a slope. And some of this light, I want this light to carry some down that slope a little bit, which was the same here. Eventually, from like in this area right here, make this, you see, there, might as well, since I'm talking to you, add more light. But I want some of it to go on the slope as well. And I will vary how much yellow and what kind of yellow I will use. Sometimes I will use the yellow medium, and sometimes I will use the Indian yellow, depending where I feel I need my brightest colors. I know some light's going to be reflecting down here, so it gives it that flat area and drops off. Flat area, give it more color. There you go, drops off. Now I use the Indian yellow if I want like a really warm yellow. See, also there was a drop off right here. I'm just using a small filbert. Use more white. And what's the nice thing about acrylic being able to layer is to be able to layer colors on top of each other, because you got some of these transparent colors and you're letting the bottom layers show through the top layer. To whereas oils, I would have had, to try to get the color damn near close to what I wanted, so I wouldn't have to work as hard to, you know, describe what I was doing here. So that's, you know, part of the nice thing about acrylic. Although, you know, its downfall is just how, well, I say downfall, but it's not always a downfall. It dries quick, but sometimes it is a blessing, and sometimes it's just a curse. It's like, damn it. Why did it have to dry on me that quickly? Can't blend, you can't do nothing. But I guess just like everything else in life, you just got to find a way to work around it, huh? So, I don't know if some of you know, acrylics used to be my worst medium. I hated it. I hated it more than anything. I was like, how did people even bother with this medium? Now look at me. It's my dominant medium. Now I did a little bit of a flat surface here as well, just like here. But what I did was I used some ultramarine blue and white and a little bit of a yellow ochre to give it more of a bluish, because it's going to be somewhat a little bit into shadow. I don't want too much light here because it's going to be too much contrast between the two. So I just damped down the color a little bit by going with ultramarine blue. There you go, like a cooler blue. Just, you know, describe. Might even go a little bit more purplish blue, just so I match. There you go. And you know what? Let me define this area a little bit with just some pure ultramarine blue. Since these bushes are in the back, I'm using ultramarine blue, just pure ultramarine blue with water. Give it like a glaze, which is another good feature about acrylics. And just to give this bush back here a little bit of distance, even back here. Just glaze. I might even do that here a little bit too. Just glaze. There you go. Now, because I've given this a flat area, let me just add a tree trunk to this. Hold on. I'm just giving an indication that there's a trunk, and give it a shadow. This is going to get a little bit tricky. There you go. I'm trying to describe because when you have a young palm, you know, the base is usually pretty fat. So I'm just giving some of that indication over here. There. Good. Good. Blue. Just giving some ultramarine blue back here. Some of the shadow. you go. I think I'm pretty happy with this. You know what? No. Let me add more white and a little bit of yellow, cad yellow medium. I knew I could add more to this. Just give more texture. And I'm using thick here to cover. And you notice I'm letting some of this purple that was on the bottom show through. And this purple and this yellow are working off each other. So that's something I wanted to show you. So now you understand why I did what I did. Okay. Giving some ripples in the sand. Perfect. One more thing, and then I think we're pretty much done with this painting. If you want a nice purple, ultramarine blue, and alizarin crimson. Beautiful rich purple. Just working on the shadow line of that tree a little bit. Scumbling. Don't be afraid to use your hands. I think we might be done with this. What do you guys think? Are some scenes more inclined towards... Oop, sorry, hold on. Sorry, trying to read your question here. Yes, some of my scenes are inclined towards oil or acrylics, depending on how complicated the scene might be. So, I mean, like this scene, had I done it in oils, I would have either to use my fast-drying oils, which I use is Gamblin Fast Matte oils. They dry pretty quickly in conjunction with the oil, the mineral spirits that I use with them. So I'm able to layer a little bit faster than traditional oils. But in this case, if had I done this painting probably would have been done in 2 stages. Maybe. If not, then I would have to use more impasto style of layering to get what I wanted. Okay. Because otherwise, if I try to put any kind of layer on top of a wet layer, it's just going to muddy up and it's just not going to look right. And I have to use thicker and thicker layers to even achieve what I want. So it would not have looked as, I guess, as good in this painting. So this is why I chose to go with acrylics on this particular painting. So yeah, you're right. It does depend on what I'm painting. So it depends how difficult or how complicated the painting is going to be. Thank you. Yes, it is an 8x10. It is an 8x10. I'm still trying to see if there's anything more I can do to it. Yes, there is. There's always something I guess you can do. I did forget something. Well, really not, but gonna add them in. Branches. Now, if this were in oils, I could add these branches by, it's called sgraffito, which is, all I have to do is scratch the paint and let the bottom layers, whatever it is, show through. Kind of like this, just doing like a hard scrape the top layers off and let the bottom layers come through. So I'm just giving hints of branches. That's what I should have done. And like I said, I'm using the tip. I'm using the tip of my brush. Even though this is a round brush, if you look closely, let me see. I turn it into a flat wedge shape. You see the difference? And I use the edges to make these fine lines because I don't know what I did with my liner brush. So this 2-0 flat's gonna have to do. Some of this tree. Just added more texture, that's all. There. Yeah. I believe this is all I'm gonna do with that. Actually, you know what? One more thing I want to add. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There is, let me look at my reference photo, some, how should I say, some dead grass, dead brush, on the ground. You guys are probably thinking, ooh, he just messed that painting up. Not really. Well, I don't think so yet. And you'll see what I'm going to do. Those of you who've lived in Florida know what I'm talking about, all this dead weed on the ground. Because otherwise people are just going to think, what is this, snow? Did I scare you guys with that? Like what in the world is he doing? Is he ruining this painting? You'll see what I'm going to do in a second. Okay. Back to white. Soften some of that up. Some of that dead growth that's usually on the ground. And people who've lived here know exactly what I'm talking about. Let me add some more. And how I'm making this color, it's yellow ochre, alizarin crimson, and ultramarine blue. A bit of burnt burnt umber. Flick some of that color off. All right, let me go back to the white and yellow. Smooth some of that out. Don't forget, don't be afraid to use your fingers if need be. There. Nothing wrong with that. I didn't kill it. There. That's what it's called. Impressionistic painting. Yes, and I'm okay with that. I know I said I'm going to make it darker blue back here, but a little bit of sunlight never hurts. All right. I think that I am done. I guess I just have to sign my name. Never know what color I want to sign it in. Let's go Indian yellow. I hope you guys enjoyed this. What do you think now? Thank you. I appreciate that, Susan Hooper. That's a nice compliment. I know I was not able to answer a lot of questions while you guys were watching this. So now that I'm done with the painting, what I'm actually going to do now is eventually go and look at all your comments and questions that you had. I'm going to take a picture of the painting itself, and so you'll be able to see without this glaring light that's in front of you right up here, and you'll get to get a true sense of the picture of the painting. So again, I want to thank all you guys for coming on such short notice, and hey Jane, eventually I will do more videos. I've been constrained with time and people have been asking, so I decided today would be a day to do a video. So I will do as much as I can, when you know, when free time presents itself. I promise I'll try to do more and more videos. But as for right now, I'll do what I can, and I'll try to do progress photos a little bit more often. I know you guys enjoy that, so we'll see. I'll try and do something for you guys. You guys have been loyal to me, been great fans, and I owe it to you. So I thank you very much. I'm going to turn the camera off now and start heading to the post and answer your questions. You guys have a great day. Love you all. Bye.